Savitr.
Mandalam 1, Suktam 35, Rishi,
Hiranyastupa Angirasa.
Devata,
Savitra.
Chandas,
Jagati. Trishtubh.
Mandalam 1, Suktam 35, Rik 1.
Vayam jagatim pratham swastaye vayam mitravaruna vihavase vayam viratrim jagato nivesanim vayam devam savitara bhutaye.
I call Agni foremost for well-being. I call Mitra and Varuna here for protection. I call night, bringing to rest animate life. I call divine sun for assistance. Acknowledgement of the role of divinities in our well-being. A translation as I acknowledge will perhaps be more appropriate instead of I call, mentioned at 4 places in the verse. Forces of nature do not wait for anyone's call to act. If systemic conditions are conducive, they act impulsively to produce the only possible result, according to their strict laws of conduct. Should there be any deviation in expected results, it can only mean that either systemic conditions or the laws of conduct of the forces themselves have not been understood in their entirety by observers, for divinities, by definition, can never err. This is akin to an equation that describes a natural law. If a proposed equation formulated by observers does not match some of the results of its application, a more comprehensive equation is composed to explain the occurrence of these deviant results as well, while ensuring that those that adhered to the earlier equation continue to do so under the new regime too. Rigvedic verses are like these generalized equations in poetic style that strive to explain happenings in existence. It is interesting to see how different functional aspects of the luminous body that we know as the sun is described in the context of mortal needs. The energy that animates us, produced by the nuclear fusion that happens at the sun's core and that reaches us as sunlight, is referred to as Agni. Mitra and Varuna are 2 representatives of the 12 phenomenal variations of the sun, causing seasons that organize mortal lives. Even the invisible sun that causes darkness and the daily rhythm of day and night is venerated and acknowledged, as it is as essential for healthy living as the visible, bright and energy-granting sun.
Mandalam 1, Suktam 35, Rik 2.
कृष्णेन रजसा वर्तमानो निवेदयन् नवसंवर्त्यम् च हिरण्येन च विचारथेन देवो याति भुवनानि पश्यन्.
Verily moving by dark airspace to alight upon immortal and mortal by golden chariot, divine Son verily comes, seeing worlds. Sun, the foremost divinity that animates and administers our cosmic neighborhood. That the Sun is the foremost divinity that animates and administers everything in his domain, the solar system, is emphasized in this verse. He moves through the darkness of space in the form of his proxies, the Ashwini Kumaras, or solar radiation, to alight upon both immortals and mortals, the former residing everywhere and the latter on Earth and perhaps on other planetary bodies, moons, asteroids and comets as well. To reach mortals on Earth, he has to traverse by the worlds of heaven and the mid-region, which is space and Earth's atmosphere. The word root rajas describes high activity, and the atmosphere is indeed a very active region. So is space, filled as it is with electromagnetic radiation across the spectrum range, in other words, energy. Considering the interconvertibility of mass and energy, both the atmosphere and space are represented as air, and the forces associated with it that make both air and vacuum do what they do. Hence the usage of the term rajas to denote both atmosphere and space.
Mandalam 1, Suktam 35, Rik 3.
याति देवः प्रवतायात्युत्पदायाति शुद्धाभ्याम् यजतो हरिभ्याम् आदेवो याति सविता परावतो भविष्वा दुरिता बाधमानः.
Divinity comes by downward slope, goes by upward slope. Sacrificer verily goes with 2 radiant steeds. Divine Sun comes from far away, annulling all evil. Solar cycle and its effects on Earth. The Sun, coming by a downward slope and going by an upward slope, perhaps refers to the tilt of the Earth's axis when seen with the Earth's orbital plane as reference. This makes sunlight to strike Earth at an angle. Only when the Sun is at the equinoxes does sunlight become incident without an angle, at least at the equator. Depending upon which hemisphere of the Earth that a mortal is located, the Sun comes by a downward, upward slope during its apparent northward journey from an Earth-centric view and goes the opposite way in its apparent southward journey. This is one apparent cycle or oscillatory motion of the sun that we witness annually. There are two other real oscillatory motions of the sun that can fit the upward-downward slope description of the verse. One is the 11-year solar cycle caused by the intense magnetic field of the sun that makes magnetic poles to reverse every 11 years, with the cycles having several effects upon the Earth's atmosphere and consequently on Earth-dwelling life forms. The repercussions of the solar cycle on Earth's atmosphere directly affecting mortal life include changes in temperature, ozone concentration, atmospheric circulation patterns, cloud cover, and disruption of communications. The second real solar cycle referred to is the oscillation of the sun around the barycenter of the solar system, which is the center of mass of all the celestial bodies of this system. This motion of the sun causes gravitational tidal effects, influencing rotational rates of planets and their moons, and long-term climate variability upon planets. These effects, being cyclic in nature, can said to be going up or coming down a slope relative to the phenomenon in focus and the location of an observer on the reference surface. So, the sun does go up and down a slope, causing many things to happen, which is viewed as its sacrifice to aid life's progression in its domain.
Mandalam 1, Suktam 35, Rik 4.
अभिवेदं कृष्णेर्विश्वरूपं हिरण्यसंयं यजतो बृहन्तम् आस्थात्रसं सविताचित्रभानः कृष्णारजां जलवीषीं दधानः.
Sacrificer has risen on the vastness covered by pearls chariot, appearing in various forms having golden pegs. Sun, one of shining light, directing his strength to dark active regions. The radiance of the sun and its numerous wave forms. This probably is a description of the range of the radiation spectrum of our neighborhood star, the sun, as also stars in general. The term various forms may refer to the various wave patterns dictated by the wavelength and frequency, type of radiation, and amplitude, its intensity, that can be visualized to describe radiation ranging from gamma rays, wavelength 10 to the power minus 15 centimeters, frequency 10 to the power 25 hertz, to radio waves, wavelength 10 to the power 10 centimeters, frequency 1 hertz or less. Each star has a unique radiation spectrum depending upon its age and composition. A stellar spectrum can reveal many properties of stars, such as their chemical composition, temperature, density, distance, and luminosity. The amount of energy emitted at each wavelength also differs from star to star, that is represented by the amplitude of its waveform, and is dependent upon the age of the star, its size, and its composition. The mention of pearls and golden pegs perhaps refers to the scenic, star-studded firmament in the darkness of night that appears to be like some design of jewelry of the times that had an appearance of this spectacle. The composer infers that the sun fills the dark regions or the vacuum of space with his radiance, riding his exquisite golden chariot.
Mandalam 1, Suktam 35, Rik 5.
विजयाच्छावास्ति दिपादो अख्यन्वतं हिरण्यप्रमुखं वहन्तः शश्वद्भिषस्य विदुर्देव्यस्योपस्थे विस्ताभुवनानि लस्तुः
White-footed brown horses carrying chariot having golden forepart made widely renowned mortals. People, all worlds, have always stood upon substratum of divine sun. Mortals beholden to the sun for their renown. There is nothing that is redundant in creation. Everything created is part of multiple processes across time. So it is with the electromagnetic force constituting solar radiation over a wide range of frequencies. A thing becomes renowned when its usefulness and contribution to its environment is significant. As everything in existence is interdependent, it makes everything useful and contributory and hence renowned. Arguably, mortal contribution and usefulness is limited to its immediate environment, while those of immortals representing forces of nature have universal reach. This gives an unassailable advantage to the immortals in terms of their contributory effects. The divine sun, the biggest patron of vitality for everything in the solar system, becomes the cause of the renown of every object within it. The sentence in the literal translation of this verse, "The people, all worlds, have always stood upon the substratum of divine sun," highlights this fact and emphasizes the undeniable and unalienable importance of the sun in mortal lives.
Mandalam 1, Suktam 35, Rik 6.
विश्वाद्यावस्य विदर्भा उपस्थान्येकायवस्य भुवने विराटात् आनिन्दरस्यामृताधीतस्तुरिह प्रावीतुज उपस्थितेतत्
Three heavens are of sun. Two stand nearby, one in world of Yama, harboring renowned. Immortals have stood about charioteer like pin of axle. Besides, let him speak here who may be aware of that. the many worlds of Vedic cosmogony. The Rigveda presents a cosmogony that goes beyond the physical realm. In this universal view, there are multiple worlds, many outside the physical realm, that souls or jivas flit between, depending upon their conduct in their earlier residencies. This movement through various realms that include heavenly abodes, earthly realms and lower planes, and is guided by Rita, natural law or dharma, where souls experience different states of existence. The three heavens of the sun mentioned in the verse could be those to do with energy, radiance and cosmic influence of the sun, or any entity that can be identified with the role of the sun. Though this association with material phenomena makes them physical realms, the fact that they are referred to as heavens and one of them is mentioned to be a realm that is presided over by Yama, where souls of the renowned reside post-mortem. These realms probably have non-material counterparts as well. The verse underscores the importance of the sun and other objects, real or virtual, that perform such a role and wield influence over both life and afterlife.
Mandalam 1, Suktam 35, Rik 7.
विसुवर्णो अन्तरिक्षाण्यत्यभीरवे असुरस्वनीतः वेदानीं सूर्यः कस्तिकेतकथमाञ्जामस्तिरस्याददान.
The beautifully winged, deeply moving divinity, divine guide, revealed middle worlds. Where, at the present time, is the sun? Who had known to which heaven ray of his had verily extended? Where could the sun's first rays have reached? The sun is imagined to be a giant and majestic winged bird that flies through heaven. For us earth dwellers, he reveals the existence of the mid-regions or the atmosphere by his light, in contrast to the darkness of the sky that we see at night. The comparison to a bird can have another connotation as well. The sun orbits the center of our galaxy, the Milky Way, at an average speed of about 225 kilometers per second. So, it is constantly flying. Light can travel indefinitely as it is made up of particles called photons that travel like waves, and unless they interact with other particles or objects, there is nothing to stop them. Being an electromagnetic wave, light is capable of penetrating and traveling through empty space without depleting its energy. As mentioned earlier, the sun is about 150 million kilometers from Earth. The distance that light travels in one Earth year is called a light year. One light year is about 9.46 trillion kilometers. So, since the sun came into being, light from the sun must have traveled about 150 million kilometers per year for about 4.6 billion years, which is approximately 7 times 10 to the power 17 kilometers. The composer wonders as to where would this point be in an infinite, unbounded universe.
Mandalam 1, Suktam 35, Rig 8.
अष्टौ व्याख्यक्तकुभः पृथिव्या स्त्रीधन्वयोजना सप्त सिन्धून् हिरण्याक्षस्य पिता देव आघातधर्तत्नादासुदेवार्याणि.
8 well-known peaks of the earth, 3 harnessed deserts, 7 rivers, the golden-eyed divinity, Sun, has come, giving to the donor desirable treasures. Revelation of summits, deserts, and rivers by both real and notional sun. The sun is responsible for every process and activity upon the region that it controls, whether real or abstract. Since Vedic thought has this penchant for describing everything in metaphors, and assuming that this proclivity is articulated by the composer in formulating this verse as well, the 7 rivers refer to the rivers of truth that flow through every region. The truths being definitive descriptions of the manner in which all processes in the region in focus, Earth in this instance, happen. The sun reveals these truths by shining its light from the 8 general directions, like in a compass, that are referred to as summits. The sun also identifies those regions where life does not flourish as bountifully as it does in more favored regions due to impediments to the flow of rivers in them in the physical world. These areas are termed deserts. This scheme involving summits, deserts, and rivers also has an analogical correspondence to the manner in which our minds work. We analyze situations from various standpoints or summits using waters of knowledge from different thought flows or rivers, while there are some areas of possible comprehension that seem beyond us, caused by the desert-like traps of responsibility, ability, and inevitability of conditions that mortals are subject to, curtailing their clarity of thought. The sun, with its light and knowledge, guides us through all this to understand existence and our place in it, which is the most valuable of the multifarious treasures that it bestows upon us.
Mandalam 1, Suktam 35, Rig 9.
हिरण्यमानस्य पिता विचर्षणि रुभेभ्या वा पृथिवी अन्तरीयते अपामी वाम् बाध देवेति सूर्यभृत् स्वधिकृष्णेन रजसाद्यावृणोति
Golden-handed, all-seeing sun wanders between both heaven and earth, repels away affliction. Sun conveys by dark regions, going towards heaven. Mind and material constructs of the sally from mundaneness to consciousness. The Earth and other such planetary bodies where life persists are considered regions of mundaneness, while the ultimate truth, to be conscious of which mundane seekers strive, is considered to be heaven. Between these two extremes are the dark regions of the unknown, through which the sun, representing knowledge, wanders about, lighting up the paths by which seekers attempt to figuratively travel to reach heaven, and also warding off afflictions of all kinds that may impede the seeker's progress. The sun, or knowledge, then is the guide that conducts us from mundaneness to heaven and to becoming fully conscious of the scheme of existence and its purpose. In the material world, the description fully applies. If heaven were to be a region very distant, many times distant than the material sun, which moves around the vacuum of space between earth and heaven, lights up everything on earth and its atmosphere for us to acquire knowledge, and kindling within us the aspiration to know more and seek for the ultimate truth about creation and its purpose. The mind and material constructs of the theme of the verse coalesce well to indicate a common aim and principle.
Mandalam 1, Suktam 35, Rik 10.
हिरण्यहस्तो असुरस्तु नीधस्तु प्रलीकस्तु वाङ्यात्तर्वाङ् अपसेधन् रक्षतो यातु दानानस्ता देवव्राजिदोषम् क्रीणानः.
Golden-handed divinity, guide, very compassionate, good protector, let him come hither, ward off demons, evil spirits. Extolled divinity has risen, opposing disorder. The stabilizing role of the sun in a fine-tuned universe. The journey of existence, as described by both Vedic thought and contemporary cosmology, is the inexorable transition from order to disorder, referred to as Prakriti and Pralaya, respectively, in Vedic parlance. We can see this transition exhibited by everything in creation. The mighty sun, as also all other stars, have a definite lifespan, at the end of which they merge back into the cosmic dust that they were born from in various ways. All mortal life forms do so too. However, the stabilizing power of the suns or stars slows down the progress of disorder within their respective systems and sustains life upon its constituent planets, wherever conditions are conducive. We are indeed beholden to our sun to be alive, active, and well, though there is a slow, inexorable, unidirectional transition towards disorder happening all the time. In the absence of this stabilizing factor, which in turn is attributable to the fine-tuned accord between the expressions of various natural forces that come into being at the dawn of creation, the universe would be unsustainable. Even if some were to change very slowly across eons, there will have to be corresponding changes in some others to make the universe continue to be sustainable until the advent of total and untenable disorder. However, if and when this were to happen, the universe would become very different from what we have been familiar with.
Mandalam 1, Suktam 35, Rig 11.
ये देवन्धा सवितः पूर्व्यासो रेणवः सुकृता अन्तरिक्षे तेभिर्नो अद्य पतिभिः सुखेभिर्चा च नो अधीच ब्रूहिदेव.
Your paths, son, which are nearest, not dusty, skillful in the mid-world, by easy-to-traverse paths, now do protect us and do speak from above, God. The sun too speaks to us in its own language. The mention of the nearest parts that are not dusty allude to two truths about sunlight. One is that light travels in straight lines, and the second is that there is refraction as well as diffusion of light when its parts are dusty, as is our atmosphere. A good part of the sunlight, however, does get through to the surface of the earth unimpeded, skillfully through paths that are easy to traverse, as the composer describes it. That is more than sufficient to sustain the plethora of mortal activities across the earth. In a manner of speech, it is the sun itself that comes to us along the paths described and also speaks to us in a language of its own that we seem to understand instinctively, for otherwise we would not have got to know so much about the sun, its ways, its mannerisms, and its munificent bestowals. There is a sonic angle to this thought as well. Speaking is creating sound waves in air. Electromagnetic radiation can induce sound waves in materials. In a conducive setting, sunlight being EM radiation, their speech too can be heard given the right conditions and if we strive to decipher and understand it. Two examples of this phenomenon in the current technological scenario are SASER, which is an acronym for Sound Amplification by Stimulated Emission of Radiation, which is a deliberate technology, and electromagnetically induced acoustic noise, also called coil whine, which is an unintended side effect in many electronic devices. If you found this video informative and relevant, please like and share it. If you would like to see more such videos in this ongoing series, please do subscribe to the channel. Thank you for viewing.